scout the running back. Is he worth it? I think we all agree Jeremiyah Love is, if not the most talented, one of the most talented players in the draft. The second thing you have to do is self-scout. You have to look at your own roster, because when you take this running back here, there's an opportunity cost. There's a chance to take a player at offensive tackle or edge rusher, and if that player hits, you are saving so much money. Jeremiyah Love's going to come in and have the most guaranteed money of any running back in the NFL, not the draft, right? So you have to look at your roster and say, okay, do we like our feel at these positions? Are we comfortable? And then you have to look at your offensive line. You do not want to draft a running back high if your offensive line is not ready for that. The Las Vegas Raiders are the perfect case study for that disaster scenario with Ashton Genty. I do not think the Cardinals or the Titans are in position to just drop in a running back and let him go. The Giants, I can get there. I still think they need to add to the interior of their offensive line, but you got a number one receiver in Malik Neighbors. You have two good offensive tackles, so I feel a little bit better about that situation. Also, they have that second pick now at 10. That, to me, makes sense, RC.
Yeah, Mina is talking like a general manager, which I think she absolutely can be. She's talking about the money that goes into Jeremiyah Love. She's speaking about where your roster is set up in order to allow him to excel. My feeling on it is he shouldn't get out of the top 5 because he's the best player in this draft. He's going to give you immediate impact. If you're the New York Giants and now you have a pick at 10, you have the quarterback of the future in Jackson Dart already. You have Malik Neighbors, who is a surefire number 1. Do not talk yourself out of picking the best player in this draft at a position where he is valued. At number 5, we've seen what guys like Christian McCaffrey could be drafted in the top 10. We've seen what Bijan Robinson could be drafted in the top 10. We saw Saquon Barkley's early impact on the New York Giants as the number 2 overall pick. I feel like at some point we're making this too difficult. I do understand if you're the Arizona Cardinals that you have to make moves to make this team better holistically. If you're at number 4 and you're the Tennessee Titans and Arvell Reese isn't picked or David Bailey isn't picked and those guys are instant impact players at their position, I understand. But if you're the New York Giants and John Harbaugh and you're trying to build the team in the same mind frame that you built the Baltimore Ravens, you go draft the most dynamic human in this draft. There isn't a wide receiver that does what Jeremiyah Love does. There isn't a quarterback that's going to do what Jeremiyah Love does. And there isn't a tight end, even in Sadiq from Oregon, that's going to impact your locker room and your on-field success the way Jeremiyah Love does the minute he walks into the locker room. And to me, allowing him to get out of the top 5.
I'm definitely of that mindset with RC as well. I completely agree with him. You're the New York Giants, you should take him. And you got Scatterboo coming back, damn it. The combination of both of them could work for you along with Jackson Dart. And remember that when you're talking about Jeremiyah Love, they're not just talking about his running ability. They're talking about his size, his big quads, his long arms, and how he can pass catch out of the backfield as well. I mean, he can catch the ball. He is a dual threat. He ain't a player that can just run with the football. He can catch it too. So being that kind of dual threat out of the backfield, I think is incredibly important for what you want to do with the New York Giants, not to mention the fact that you want to protect Jackson Dart as much as you possibly can. We keep forgetting that the brother had about 5 concussions his rookie year. I mean, from preseason through the season, he had about five different times that he suffered a concussion. I'm looking at it along those lines, getting the ball out of his hands quickly to weapons like that is certainly something that's going to preserve him. I think you have to take that into consideration. And if he falls to the Giants, they absolutely should take him.
I'm going to put you guys on the spot really quick here. Do you think it's more likely a team in the top 5 that we laid out drafts Jeremiyah Love or someone trades up to get him? A Chiefs, a Cardinals is already there, but someone like that. What do you think?
Yeah. I think the biggest problem is teams. Oh, go ahead, Mina.
No, you go. All right. Well, I was gonna say is I think more likely a team sticks and picks. I think if a team trades up, it would be to take one of the pass rushers like an Arvell Reese or a David Bailey. I think it's more likely that one of those teams in the top 5 sticks and picks Jeremiyah Love like the Giants.
Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that as well because if you're a team that's not in the top 5, you're weighing the exact same options that Mina is. You're looking at these top 5 teams and you're saying at 3 or 4, we don't expect him to be picked. And the New York Giants will now become the pick that you would have to try to work some deal with the Tennessee Titans in order to get ahead of them to make that pick. If Jeremiyah Love falls past the New York Giants in the same way I feel that if Arvell Reese were to fall past the New York Giants, I believe that's where the draft gets interesting, and we could see some teams starting to try to make a play to move up to that number 6 spot where the Cleveland Browns are, to make a move on one of these dynamic players if they do slip early on in this draft.
I also think the reticence that people have historically had about running backs from time to time, obviously that wasn't applicable to a guy like Saquon Barkley and stuff like that, but for the most part, because of the reticence that people have had when it comes to running backs, do you want to be the team that moved up for him and then all of a sudden something happens, something like an injury or anything like that? I think that's some reticence that would hit an executive that would make them a bit reluctant to make that move up. It's one thing to grab him when he's there at your pick and you just grab him, but to sacrifice picks to move up to get him when you know at the running back spot anything could happen at any given moment is something that's going to make people a bit reticent to do that.
The team I was thinking about that I couldn't think was the Cowboys, another team that I thought maybe could be in the mix for a team that might want to trade up to get a talent like this in Jeremiyah Love. It all goes down tonight. We cannot wait for the...
We're sub 24 hours now to their official number 1 pick. To begin with our first round check-ins in Vegas, here's Lindsay Theory.
The Raiders plan to select Fernando Mendoza with the top overall pick. While this selection has long seemed a foregone conclusion, General Manager John Spytek tells me they still went through a complete evaluation to ensure the Heisman-winning QB would be a good fit. Spytek telling me, I want the whole building to know and everybody to know. We did the work, and if we end up where everybody expects us to end up, I'll know on our end that we had the right process. When asked what he likes about Mendoza, first-year head coach Clint Kubiak says he's a winner. He's accurate, quick, strong, and intelligent.
All right, here's the headline in the New York Post on Wednesday. On edge, what will the Jets do at number 2? Which edge rusher will they take? Will it be Arvell Reese of Ohio State or David Bailey of Texas Tech? And at number 16, the Jets also have choices. Darren Muji, the GM, has been on the phones talking to other teams. Perhaps the Jets move up to take Jordan Tyson, a wide receiver out of Arizona State, or if they think he will slip later in the first round, do they move down? There is no expectation whatsoever that the Jets will take the quarterback of the future in the first round.
I've been here at the Giants facility the last 2 days, and here's what I've learned. Number 1, head coach John Harbaugh does more draft prep, I'm told, than most NFL coaches. And 2, he and GM Joe Schoen have been in constant communication throughout this entire process. Like on Monday, the two of them spent hours in Schoen's office going over, quote, 1 million draft scenarios. And at one point, Harbaugh meant to pop in. 2 hours later, the two of them were still talking until they finally looked at each other and said, all right, let's get some sleep and hit it again tomorrow.
Well, if the Cowboys draft is anywhere near as eventful as the day before their draft, we're in for some fun. During their pre-draft press conference, which lasted almost a full hour, we had an unexpected appearance from former President Bill Clinton, who chatted with his Arkansas friend, Jerry Jones, in front of the assembled media, and that was before the Cowboys said they would not be negotiating with wide receiver George Pickens for a long-term deal, instead planning for him to play on the franchise tag. Now, especially interesting since the Cowboys are a defensive-needy team. But Jones said even though they do need defensive players in this draft, with the 12th and 20th overall picks, they could still go with an offensive player. Case in point, Jones noted that the Cowboys were a defensive-needy team back in 2020 when they used their 17th overall pick on wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. In other words, here in Dallas, expect the usual, entertaining and eventful.
What are your thoughts on playing in New York? Have you ever experienced New York City and playing under those bright lights?
Isn't it Jersey, technically?
Damn, he's not wrong, right? But who could the Jets and Giants be targeting with their first-round picks? Our draft insider with some thoughts. And the Mets hope getting Juan Soto back in the lineup will help end that 12-game skid Find out if it's so and what else went wrong.